Okay, will you let me talk about a game that is exciting me? Black Matter, who created one of my favorite titles of all time, Hell Let Loose, have announced their newest game. Okay, they're not called Black Matter anymore. They're called a Good Fun Core. As far as I'm aware, I think it's actually most of the developers that went over from Black Matter when, well, Hell Let Loose was bought up by Team 17. They took that rich 43 mil and thought, what's next? Well, it's probably this.
Liberty, equality, fraternity, or death. The last, much the easiest to bestow. We knew that before the bacterium emptied the towns and cities. Before the herds were driven into the water, and houses burned so hot that the stone melted. Before the old order died. And now, you have come. And do you bring with you a new order? Or do you too possess the same gluttony that led to the end? I suspect we shall soon find out.
I just want to put a disclaimer. I actually don't know if the money that Team 17 bought Hell Let Loose for is funding this game. That could be a complete lie, so please don't take that into account. Welcome to Hunger, a game where liberty and equality have gone out the window and survival is the only option. It is set in the dystopian Napoleonic Europe. How insane is that? We've never got a game really set within that time before. I mean, it is technically fantasy, but it is the, well, late 1700s, 1800s kind of time here. So you'll be getting those kind of weapons and, well, the guns. The world has been ravaged by the bacterium, though. It is an infection that has cascaded across the lands, killing everything in its path. But there are also some supernatural elements that you've got to pay attention to. Okay, Hunt Showdown is probably the closest comparison because, yes, this is an extraction shooter. PvP, and then, of course, against the environment as well. PvPvE, I think is the way that people say it. Absolute insanity. I don't know why we're getting so many acronyms for games. But yes, another extraction shooter is on its way. After Delta Force actually addicted me to the series, I've been trying out things like Tarkov, and I actually own Hunt Showdown. Not tried it yet, but I think I'm going to have to now. But this plague-ridden, monster-infested Europe is absolutely brutal. The design that we can see in some of this gameplay, it looks gorgeous. So much time and effort has been put into it, and the graphical fidelity on this is an absolute another level. Now, we don't really know all that much. The game was only recently announced, but what we know so far is you start in this neutral area, which is kind of like your hub. The chateau, as it's called, because once again, we're in the French Napoleonic Wars times. You have shopkeepers, bounty hunters, other survivors. You can buy gear, you can upgrade your classes, so on and so forth. Complete quests, building your reputation, and this is how you unlock new places. Think of it like the Hive in Darktide, or like the... What's the one in Delta Force? The Black Site. Is it Black Site? It sounds like there is so much going on in terms of the progression, though. And once again, think of Tarkov. If you liked that game, you're probably going to like this one. If you didn't, well, I don't think I've got much of a video here for you. Instead of creating a character from scratch, though, you can choose from a roster of kind of champions, or maybe even heroes. Each have their own unique abilities. Leveling them all the way up to level 100, you can unlock skills from a mastery tree that allows you to tailor your character's playstyle. You can be a massive tank that brutes through everybody. You can have like a machine gun style weapon. I know, look, we're still going with dystopian Napoleonic Wars. Trust me. There's a cool little gun in the trailer that shows a revolver saber in the head of what looks to be a zombie, or I guess a bacterium ravaged man. Look, I would like a revolver with a knife on it. That would be badass. Or you can be like a stealthy guy that goes and sneaks around. Once again, this will be depending on who you're playing with, because you kind of want to link up with other people to make sure that, well, everybody is doing their job. Now, some people might be wondering, is this going to be historically accurate? No, it's not. I don't care what they say. It is not going to be whatsoever. So don't go into it thinking you're going to get another Hell Let Loose just set in dystopian Napoleonic Wars, as if that's even a thing. This is an absolute chaos merchant of a game. Some of the weapons are going to be experimental with explosives, melee pistols, and full melee combat as well, kind of alongside what you'd expect from, I don't want to go as far as saying a Mordhau, but I mean, from what we've seen, it looks more akin to like a Dark Tide, hacking and slashing through lots and lots of AI enemies, and maybe even getting your sword caught on a few players at some point in time. Like other extraction shooters though, you'll pick up a map, jump into missions, and you can complete different quests. There'll be different bits of loot that you can pick up, and of course, different side things that you can do within them. There'll be bosses, or there'll be easier sections. Now there will also be AI that you fight up against, like scavengers and things like that you've got to take out, take loot from their bodies, probably not going to have too much, or there'll be other players that you might meet as well. Much harder to take out, but they will also have their own gear that you can check out. Now, the Steam page doesn't really show us all that much apart from a few screenshots, but what we can get is a sheer beautiful look at the graphics and the depth that's been put into this. Such an upgrade from Hell Let Loose, which, you know, is to be noted because that game technically came out in 2021, but it was around in early access for a few years before that. We can see some sort of mutant designs, and of course, we've got our Napoleonic Wars style camps as well. Going in, we've got more of like a flintlock pistol as well. This is showing a lot of the co-op gameplay. Once again, you can play on your own or with other people. Muskets will be within the game, probably like a one-shot thing, depending on how long they're going to take to reload. And a child has a musket because, I mean, who doesn't want a child? Now, we can have a little bit of a look at our mastery system. There is not really too much information on what we're going to actually expect, but things like running faster, being able to carry a bit more, being able to dual wield, it looks like one of those things are, which is going to be exciting. Being able to carry more is probably going to be your best bet for a looter shooter. Look, I haven't played too many of them, but I do know you need to loot things and you need to shoot things. There'll be a vast amount of variation in the maps, by the way, with villages, monasteries, citadels, mines, going underground as well as going up into forests and things like that. And it's all going to be set in one of the most brutal looking European fronts that we've ever seen. I wouldn't expect a similar situation to Hell Let Loose. It looks like the previous developers have gone off on their own. They've gone off on a new whim to try something completely different, and I have a lot of, well, admiration for that. Something that they've never done before. And whilst extraction shooters could probably be said they've been overdone at this point, I think there's still a lot to love here, and I, for one, cannot wait to get my hands on Hunger. At least I'll be following it for some time before inevitably something goes wrong.